G'day everyone, my name's Lachlan Pirie. Today I'll be doing an interview with Vanessa Romanov, a young writer currently living in Melbourne, Australia. She has published 3 books which combine poetry, short stories, and commentaries on the world around her. She enjoys mixing psychology with literature and creating characters close to the people we've all met. Her work is honest and well brought out, focusing on deep-seated concepts that we grapple with each and every day. She is currently studying a Bachelor of Arts and a major in crime studies and psychology, and is in the process of publishing her next 2 books this year. Whilst writing and studying, she also works in cosmetics and has interests in baking and making her own bookmarks. Also, just before I start this interview, I just want to let you know that the volume goes up and down quite a bit because the volume on my computer is much louder than Vanessa's. My voice cuts her off a few times, so many apologies for that. I hope I don't annoy you guys too much. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this video and don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Um, so do you have a particular genre that you focus on?
So usually I would write poetry, but like in like the third and fourth book, I've touched into like commentary. So how I see myself as a bit of a reporter, reporting on like what's going on in the world, what's happened in history, what's happening in philosophy, what's happening in basically every aspect of the human life.
Yeah. And so your 2 recent books, The Dark and the Beautiful and Men's the Human, do they relate in any way, or do certain characters appear in the books?
They do relate in terms of themes, pretty different, but also similar. There's a Easter egg in the Men's the Human from The Dark and the Beautiful. So if you want, you can investigate for yourself. But they're both pretty similar in terms of like the themes of death and like life and love, lust, all that.
Yeah.
So it's similar but different at the same time.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the characters that you created in your first book, The Dark and the Beautiful. Did you model them around everyday people that you come across with, various character traits and stuff? Or were they inspired by sort of your own people in your own life, or were they sort of very fictionalized?
Actually, all three. So all three. There's a scene, which I don't want to get too deep into. That is based on one of my best friends and what she went through with a certain someone. There's a scene where how I met one of my best friends, but like I use different names. I never use people's actual names. I just give them like a new identity because it's much easier. And there's a murder case, no, not a murder case, but like a manslaughter case from Washington, D.C., which is based on the Katie Flynn case. If you want to know, Katie Flynn was a 7-year-old girl who had her head decapitated in a limousine back in 2005. And because of that, it changed the drink driving laws in Washington, D.C. So like it kind of like, it kind of shows how cases can change the law. So like that's a story that's touched me since I was like 15, and it's a really like sad story if you look into it. So.
Yeah. So do you relate your stories to real life events, or is there sort of a mix of both?
Mix of both. As so when I was writing the Bolshevik, which is about Yakov Yurovsky, if you don't know, he was the lead executioner of the Romanov family, the Russian royalty.
Yeah.
In the story, I said that he committed suicide. Like the real life Yurovsky, he actually died of cancer. So like I mixed in just a little bit of fantasy, and he's old in my story, but he was relatively young when it all went down.
Yeah.
So like I kind of mix fantasy and history with it all in one.
Yeah. So is there particular writers that you look to for inspiration?
Yes. So one of my mentors, he's my inspiration. His name is Lachlan Pirie. He's a humanoid pro. um, I say that because he always wears a pro mask, so it's
Mm,
quite funny. Robert Ormsby, J.K. Rowling,
mm.
Stephen King, even.
Yeah,
When I
yeah,
was younger, it was C.S. Lewis.
yeah,
Yeah, and believe it or not, even the Bible, like inspired
yeah, yeah. So when you write your books, do you feel like certain aspects of you change as a person? Do you discover new things about yourself in the process?
Yeah, I've recently discovered how impatient I could be.
Sorry, my volume's bad.
So I've recently discovered how impatient I can be and how frustrated like I can get just I don't know when I'm typing, one scene if I'm not happy with it.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I tend to be like that as well. I'm a bit of a annoying perfectionist in my work.
yeah,
And yeah, you just sort of you have to really take yourself out of that mindset to get back into writing. And yeah, that's one of the big things in writing that you sort of have to overcome, which is perfectionism.
yeah.
Yeah, because the writing process can go on for years and years, um, and it all can just be done, within 12 months. And yeah, that's one thing that I'm really I struggle with certainly. And so coming to back to that point, are you sort of a planner, or do you sort of sit down, let it rip, let your creative mind go wherever, or do you sort of want to have a game plan to start off with?
So before The Dark and the Beautiful, I was writing a crime thriller called In the Name of Religion, and I tried to like plan out the scenes, what religious leader was being charged, and I just sorry, excuse me. And I just like couldn't like deal with it. Like I don't know, it just didn't work for me. So um, when I was compiling The Dark and the Beautiful, it was already there. It wasn't planned at all. So I just put it all together, and here we are now.
Yeah. So I know from experience that all writers go through a period of self-doubt. Have you ever felt that your work is not up to the standard of being released?
By me showing it off to like close friends and my boyfriend. Like
Yeah,
I just have that doubt in my head where I'm like, oh, is it good enough? Is it
yeah, yeah,
sharp? Is it what is it? Yeah.
yeah. So I'd like you to take me back to the moment. You've done all this work to publish these two books. You've
Mm-hmm.
done all the editing for them, and the whole marketing and publishing journey as well. What was it like to hold the first physical copies of your books, particularly the first one?
Oh, wow. I don't know. I don't know. It was like a dream come true. I remember holding it, and I just kind of blank out because
Yeah, yeah,
at the age of 10, I've wanted to publish something, and
mm,
when you have it in your hands, it's like, my God, did I really do this?
yeah,
Like, I don't
yeah,
know. It came as a bit of a shock to me when
yeah,
I published it, like through Amazon. I cried all night. But
yeah,
like to actually physically hold your own book, I was just in shock.
yeah. So, are you looking for writing to be like a full-time sort of gig for you, or is it just sort of a hobby type thing?
So in a perfect world, yes, I would, but realistically, I can't. So I kind of was really
Yeah, yeah,
I'm doing this degree. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. I'm doing this degree so I can work within the Australian justice system. So because I have an interest in working within the court,
yeah,
particularly becoming a clerk. For those who don't know what a clerk is, it's those ladies that type up the cases. So I find that really interesting for me.
Mm.
So that would honestly be like a dream that not a dream, sorry, it would be a career that I would like to get into.
Yeah, yeah. So, what would you say would be a top tip for anyone looking to become an author, particularly, starting out from rock bottom? What would you say would be your best advice?
Have patience.
Yeah,
Have patience. Keep doing what you're doing. For me, when because The Dark and the Beautiful contains poetry and short stories I wrote from when I was 16. So
yeah,
like from the ages of 16 to 23, like that was just something that I was collecting. And I just like, you know what? I'm gonna put it into a book. Whatever happens, happens. And,
mm,
and there we are. So
yeah, yeah.
I know,
So,
just have patience, keep persisting, and have faith in yourself.
yeah, yeah. So tell me a little bit about your third novel, which is called Intellectual Conversations and Observational Thoughts. Is this similar to your previous two novels, or does it cover sort of different themes and characters?
It covers different themes. It covers history, religion,
Yeah,
a bit of like human interaction, psychology,
y-
biology, which is something that I never touched on before.
yeah,
And it's more of like a conversational starter, like into the seven deadly sins or
yeah,
like pictures. I don't know. That's like I said for myself, I see myself as a reporter. So I'm
yeah,
reporting
yeah, yeah,
on like certain topics that I tend to find interesting and what I've noticed around me.
yeah. Well, that's very interesting because like a lot of these areas that you're talking about, like there's just such a vast sort of history and knowledge behind certain things, and yeah, and really sort of covering all that stuff, I find it pretty impressive because you're doing uni and stuff at the same time, um, and yeah, to certainly get all that stuff into one book seems quite impressive because with my writing, I just tend to block out all kinds of things like biology, conversations, like poems and stuff.
Yeah,
So
I tend to. Sorry.
yeah, it's a very impressive mix that I see in your books, and that just leads me to my next question. What's some of the amazing feedback that you've been getting from your books?
So one of my mentors, whose name is Robert Ormsby, he recommended it to one of his new. Um, so he's like, how can I say this? So he's been like showing people like around his workplace, his girlfriend, his ex-wife, blah blah blah. He's
Yeah,
been showing it around, and he's I don't know, he's been really supportive in that field. So he's been great, and then I've had like others tell me that one of my friends' mothers just messaged me the other day. Oh my god, like I love your stuff. Like, can you write more like this? I'm like, okay.
yeah,
I don't know. It's a bit of a reward to know that people actually love your work.
yeah, yeah. So just to finish, sorry, go ahead.
Um, so on a side note, so my boyfriend's mother, she knew I was a writer. So one day he was like leaving some of my books on his bed. She took it, she starts reading it, and like he comes home and she's just like, oh my god, like wow, she's talented. Don't let her go. Oh god, it was. And I had a bit of a laugh when he was telling me. So
Yeah, yeah. Sorry. So finally, I'd love for you to share with people how they can get in contact with you, and what's the best way to get a hands-on copy of your books.
so um, if you're not from Australia or the Southern Hemisphere, I suggest that you go and get a copy of my books from Amazon. However, if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, because Amazon has trouble like sending things off to Australia. I've had major issues with Amazon in the past, so this is why I use a third party to
Yeah.
like bring my physical copies to Australia.
Yeah.
So if you live in Australia or New Zealand or wherever within the Southern Hemisphere, you can message me through Instagram, which is Vanessa Romanov Writer, Facebook, Vanessa Romanov Writer, or Twitter, Vanessa_Romanov,
Yeah.
or my website at www.vanessaromanov.com. That's a mouthful. And you can just purchase from myself.
Very good, Vanessa. Thank you very much for doing an interview with me. I know it was only very short, but it's very interesting, your writing, and I look forward to interviewing you again.
Okay. Thank you for having me, Lachlan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.